And just like that, we're here. Today's an awesome day. I'm super excited to be in the room. I got emotional before talking to my dad and being around another combat vet. We spoke about a lot of things that I've been through. So to be here today means the world. Lights out. What's up?
What's going on, man?
Former pro bowler, played for the Chargers. Big guy. As soon as I saw him, I said, "What do you do? Eat people?"
He does eat people.
Yeah.
And then I got a former Marine who I look up to very much, who joined the Marine Corps right after 9/11, literally September 17th, and is a fellow combat vet. J-Roc's in the house, Las Vegas own. What's up, gents?
Not much, man.
Welcome to Fight Junkies.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've been watching a lot of your stuff.
Thanks, man. I mean, we technically are junkies of fights.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for us being here, Fight Junkies. You know, it all works.
That's a cool ass name.
It is.
You know what I like the most about it, which
Yeah.
probably sounds a little sinister? I went through so much with addiction after getting out and losing my identity that I've been called a junkie before,
Right.
but in a bad way. And now I can proudly say, you're goddamn right, I'm a junkie.
Yeah. It's just you know what it is, especially when you get on like the fight side. People are like hardcore fans, right? And like coming from the NFL where you got hardcore fans, it's a little bit different in the combat sports because they're a different kind of fan.
Definitely.
Right? Like you have, like we were talking about next door is that, like I played for the Bills for a couple years my last year. Like when you're born, they put a Buffalo Bills beanie on you. You're a Buffalo Bills fan as an infant. And you got no other choice. And I think that, being in combat sports now on this side and, having my own, league and promotion and stuff like that, you see a different kind of fan. Like they don't play about their favorite fighters. You know what I mean? Like you have people that's like your favorite team, but on the MMA, on just combat sports in general, like they don't play about their favorite fighters. They will fight you to the death if you talk bad against your favorite fighter.
Yeah, they go hard. Passion.
Oh, they go hard.
Yeah.
Passion. So, I'm a huge fan. I mean, I grew up in Jackson, New Jersey, right next to Toms River, where Frankie Edgar grew up.
Yep.
Dante Rivera, I call him Uncle. Grew up with his nephew. Yeah, I've always been around the fight game. So to be able to do this and then meet other passionate people about the fight game that are, my age, that know what it was like back in the Pride days, and it's cool because MMA
days.
Oh man, soccer kicks, right?
Pride was so good.
So you guys
good.
both said that you go to Extreme Couture. I had Eric Nixick on here. So when it comes to the passionate about your
Shout out
favorite,
to Eric Nixick.
Yeah.
Eric,
we love you, bro.
Hey, my boy.
He's the man.
he's awesome. He was my first podcast here, and I had like imposter syndrome, and I was all nervous, and I was like, I've never even watched the whole thing. I just looked like I didn't belong in the room. But he was such a sweetheart, so awesome. So what's going on with you guys? I know you guys are fight fans, but
Yeah.
I see you train a lot. You're doing cold plunges. You have an awesome routine. You make me feel very fat every day. I hope you're proud of yourself. I'm glad my wife's in Centennial Hills.
Well, hopefully there's a little motivation involved in that process.
Yeah. No, certainly motivating because I know that you've overcome very similar things to me. And that's why I was drawn to you, because I see a lot of where I will be. Like there's no failing in if I didn't die then, or the things I put myself through, I can't fail now. It's impossible.
No, you can do anything you want. I mean, the stuff that you've gone through, which I understand is, mentally you have to pass certain barriers to get past that. And I don't think a lot of people get through those type of things, right? Like we were kind of talking about it a little bit, before we started, but, what doesn't kill you does make you stronger. And, you're in a place where there's nothing that can stop you. It's just you. So you push past those things, throw the discipline in there, and you'll be hitting them cold punches anytime.
Oh yeah,
those things do get those things don't always they don't get easier though. I'll tell you that. Every time I get in there, I got to take that deep breath and be like, all right, here we go. It's
what's so crazy about that? Like getting big now. Like I did that my whole career. Right, we got an ice bath every day after practice, every single day. And so like we understood and we know like the benefits of it. We always knew, because you walk up to practice field, you got swollen knees, swollen ankles, swollen whatever it is, and you're just trying to get everything out, like just flush everything out. And so when I started to see like the cold plunges now, I'm like, people are just getting hip to that now, which is a good thing. But the benefits that, like, I wouldn't made it as far in my career as I did without getting in the cold tub the way I did. Now we had the, you know, like the hot tub and the cold tubs. You got, you know, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 5 minutes here, and I normally do about 20 to 30 minutes every day.
Wow.
In the hot and cold tub. But it's a game changer, and I'm glad that like more people are getting involved now.
Do you think football is similar to like the damage to like an MMA training camp?
It's different. It's different. And, you know, it's funny. I was just talking about this the other day. And then, you know, because I've been training myself. As a matter of fact, when I started training, Jay Glazer, right?
Yeah.
We talked about the MVP program and whatnot, which I've been involved with for a long time. He came in, and I grew up boxing. I'm from Prince George's County, Maryland. And so with us, we grew up boxing all the time. And, you know, we used to have family cookouts and stuff like that. We had gloves and mouthpieces because we knew the cousins or the uncles, somebody had too much to drink or somebody started talking shit. It was like,
let's handle it.
Yeah, it was
barbecue.
Like, my grandmother would be like, hey, the gloves in the back. My grandmother.
Yeah, stop arguing.
Yeah, it was like, yo,
go handle it.
You guys are talking too much. The gloves in the closet. Go get them, right? And so we grew up doing that. And so in the mid-2000s, when MMA started to get big, you know, Strike Force is already there, Pride, all that, like, was big. But then, like, UFC started to begin this global phenomenon, right? With the Chuck Liddells, the Tito Ortiz, the Randy Couture's, the Brock, like, during that time when everything got big. So Jay was like, hey, I know you grew up boxing. I was in there hitting mitts. And he said, why don't you pick up some MMA because it'll help you out doing football. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever. And so the next day he texted me the address, and I walked to the gym, and Randy Couture was there. And so like my first day doing anything in the MMA side was with Randy. And so I was like, you know what? I kind of like this shit, man. This is dope. And so every year I started to train with like some of the best in the world. And so like even with Eric, we were just talking about Eric, and I was in the gym today, and I was working with the coach and hitting mitts and all that other stuff. I said, man, if I met Eric or whatever, like back when I retired, and there was like real money in the sport then, I would have been fighting. I would have left the football field the very next day, and I would have took a fight probably 12 weeks after.
You'd be fighting
Yeah,
Francis.
bro. I said the same thing. Like if I would have met Eric a little sooner, I'm sure I would have had a bunch of fights already. You know, because it's honestly too, it's one of those things where like, you know, you connect with these coaches in a way, and with Eric, like, you know, it's like we knew each other and we were instantly friends. We're going to be friends for the rest of our lives. And like, I trust I mean, obviously he's an expert, but also I trust him in his heart that he wants good things for me, you know, and that's important too, and having that trust factor. But, you know, to your point, like I could see how that, you know, that type of training, you know, for football too.
There's a lot of correlation, man, between the two sports. It really is. And
can you break that down a little? Because I never played football, so
yeah,
I can imagine the core strength and some of the agility.
Well,
like,
you know what happens is like when you're, you know, in the NFL, you're walking in. Like my first day, you know, training, like everybody thought, because you're athletically, you can go with anybody, but technical wise, you're going to lose the long term, right? Because Randy was like ragdolling my ass around a little bit when we were pummeling. I could not understand, like, how the hell is he, you know, kind of moving my body around and doing different things. He was just showing me, say, hey, when I do this, do this. When I do this, do this. And he was talking me through the whole thing. And so I started to pick up on it fast. And more importantly, like when NFL players retired, I think that making that transition for them is probably easier than any other sport, right? For one, you got to be a different kind of person to play football. Yeah. Like you just have to, right?
I did freshman football, one practice.
Dude,
and I quit.
You know, look, you know how
I was
many,
like, and they just
you know how many
me.
people like in high school, like meaning
all the best athletes are in the NFL, bro.
Yeah, and you know,
the best athletes.
Oh, no doubt about it. And so you have these guys that will come out and try to play football for the girls and shit, right? It was like, I'm trying to get on the team. I seen we had a running back that came out and he got popped, pow, hard. He took his helmet off and shoulder pads on the field, and he went back to track. He never touched the football field again. So the mentality of the physicalness, right? Yeah. The violence, and it's a brutal. So you can make that. You're getting punched in the face is very much so like getting a crackback block, right? Or you taking on a fullback that's 240 pounds running downhill straight at you. So if you're able to do that, you can actually wrap your mind around getting punched in the face, even though that's not what you intend to do. But there's a lot of similarities there, and more former athletes, especially football players, are going to be making that transition into combat sports. Yeah,
and you've seen the transition has become very normal for wrestling, right? Like great wrestlers, it's like that transition
100%.
is almost like, okay, when are you going to the next step with MMA, right? If you're a great wrestler. And I feel like football in the same kind of manner. If you don't have the injuries, just to make it to the NFL, when you think about how many people are playing in high school football and college and don't actually make it to the NFL, we're talking about the dude who's in the NFL is my man right here, but it's the dude who's the best in the whole state. You know what I mean? It's 2-3 guys, best in the whole state, and they're making it.
And he didn't blow his knee out, right?
Yeah, you talk about all the Pop Warner, all the people who are playing football, only a select few make it to the NFL. So the guys that are in the NFL, every single one of them is a stud, And I always say this because I look at all the fight. I read a lot of the different things. I don't always comment, right? But there's a lot of guys size don't mean nothing, this and that. I'm like, bro, you come up against a defensive lineman at a bar, and he's coming up quick. I don't care if you know jiu-jitsu, doesn't matter what you know. He hits you, and that's a big dude coming with a lot of force, and size does matter sometimes.
Absolutely. That's why everyone's
size does
Francis
matter.
Ngannou.
And speed, think about the speed and athleticism that these guys go through. It's nothing like it.
We haven't seen a lot of. Do you guys know PJ Overt? Works with KSI. They just sold out Wembley Stadium. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt.
I know of him. I don't know him.
I had him on the show a couple weeks ago. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember a lot of NFL players doing the boxing thing. How come we're not seeing more of that?
Well, they're coming over. Le'Veon Bell has made it. He's making his way, right?
Gotcha.
He fought Adrian Peterson. He got Adrian Peterson pretty good.
Yeah.
You see Pac-Man. Pac-Man had a couple fights. Jones. Greg. I know a lot of people hate Greg Hardy, right? They do. I think he's different. So I get that part of it. But he actually. Look, he had a run.
He did.
Where I thought that he would possibly be a champion one day. And think about this: he only trained a couple years tops before he was taking big fights in the UFC. Dude, people got to understand when you're 10, 15 years behind the guy that you're across.
Yep.
Right, you're 10 to 15 years behind him, and you're able to stand toe to toe with him. Greg Hardy for a short period of time. Look great,
scary dude.
But you're gonna have some guys that have some injuries early on, knee injury or something that happened, and they can't play football anymore, right? But they can fight, and so you're going to start seeing that because the money's bigger.
Yeah,
dude. When I got out, I was talking to a couple of leagues and promotions and whatnot, and they were offering a couple $100,000. I was like, nah, I'm making that at NFL Network. I'm good.
Yeah,
but now. With the pay-per-view models and these big events happening, the money's there. And so if that was the case when I came out, it would have been a much different story. But I'm saying that because we're going to see a big-name athlete that finishes his career early to start transitioning into combat sports.
Go to basketball, LeBron. How do you think you're?
Well, you got to take them out. Maybe
no, someone of his stature.
Yeah,
bro. You ever see LeBron flop on one of those?
Yeah. But let's say you get a young kid with the same athleticism of him. Is 24, can't play in the league, and he starts training. By the time he's 30, if he's committed, what are you going to do?
Dude, I'm going to tell you who can go, and a lot of people don't know, is Mercedes Lewis to play tight end for Green Bay.
Yeah.
To play for Jacksonville and Green Bay.
Still active in the NFL?
He's still active in the NFL. You know how many times I try to pitch him to fight? Yeah. Because he's trained jiu-jitsu and all that, but I've seen him go training with him. And I said all the time, dude, take a couple fights. Seriously, because he is that good. But mind you, what is this, 15, 16 year in the league, in the NFL? You're going to have a guy that's built like Mercedes Lewis within the next couple years. Built like him. They get cut a few times and say, you know what, fuck it. I'm done with it. Because what happens is you get tired of that runaround with the teams and cutting the politics and everything else.
Now, would it be like a pro, like trying to go pro, or would it be more of this like Jake Paul YouTube, like get the bag type of stuff?
You're gonna have. Dude, I had a guy that was fighting for me for Lights Out Extreme, fighting for my promotion, for my company, Chris McCain, and he played defensive end and outside linebacker for the Chargers, Miami, and I believe the Colts, right? And this dude was built like John Jones. 6'6", 245, and can flat out go. I mean, I sparred him. I said, some days we had sparring matches. We really got after each other. And I'm looking back at Antonio McKee, who's our coach, and I said, he can go. He can go. And he was a 3-0 amateur for us before he quit fighting. He moved on to doing some other stuff. But we're going to get another Chris McCain here in the next year or two that's going to be a world champion that played for some time in the NFL.
Yeah, I see it.
I mean,
I see it happen. I mean, it makes sense, and to your point, you know, the violent aspect of football transition and the training and everything else, that transition is there. And if you got the athleticism, you're bypassing
100%.
a big group of guys, right? Just with the athleticism and, you know, the workout, the drive that it takes just to get to the NFL, like all of that, now you taking all that time and attention and putting that same effort towards your training. Yeah.
Brendan Schaub, right?
Yeah, Brendan Schaub.
Shout out Brendan Schaub.
I just showed him yesterday.
You were on the Fighter and the Kid.
Fighter and the Kid. Yeah, we were talking about that because so the reason why that was a great conversation with Brendan Schaub, because he played in NFL, you know, he had his stint.
He almost was on the Broncos or something.
Yeah,
right?
he I think he almost made the team or whatnot. But he also fought. And it's funny because people will sit back and say, and I saw some of the comments from our interview, and people were like, you didn't play in the NFL. I said, dude, if you make it through a training camp, like you at least can see the level of athlete that you're facing and going against. The NFL is something that it's hard to put into words because it's so many physical freaks. And you just to get there, right? So take your best guy from the SEC, right? Or Big Ten or whatever it is. One of your best guys, they get into the NFL and you never hear about them anymore. Yeah. Think about that. Think about
and that's what I was trying to say earlier. Is like these dudes who are in the NFL are like, they're like unicorns. You know, I mean, honestly, like they're not normal. You know,
you take your All-American high school guys, right? You take your All-American high school guys, you get them to a Big Ten, Big SEC, whatever, and you never hear about them anymore. Now take your best guys from college and they go to the pros. Some of these guys, you never hear about them anymore. Now you start getting to the weeds of things. The Pro Bowlers, all pros, and then your defensive, offensive players. Like these guys are so elite, like you can't even believe it. The All-Pro team is, you got 11, right? You got one guy in your position that makes All-Pro, the first and second team.
You know, that just opened my brain to the thought of like every time you have like a stud that gets drafted to the NBA, you normally do hear about them their first season.
Right.
But I've never, in very few instances, like you said, the competition. They're going to be second, third string, even though they were
and then injuries.
top of the.
And then injuries on top of that.
Yeah.
You know, and like because you know I went to high school with Frank Mir, right? Frank Mir, UFC champion, right? This dude in high school was a freak, right? Like, you know, he was 6'4", 240, you know, benching 450, you know, in high school. You know what I mean? And he was one of those dudes. He was a fullback. You know, we all were like, okay, this dude's going to the NFL. You know, at the same time, he was already a black belt in Kempo Karate and was getting into jiu-jitsu early, which we all know his jiu-jitsu is just like on a crazy another level, but his strength. He was just the strongest dude in the school, and we all were like, okay, this dude's going to the NFL. And then as soon as high school was over, boom, he was jumping into fighting. So he just took that same mentality and just pushed it forward into fighting, and look how successful he was, you know.
So you're still actively. How does your fighting right now? I see you training all the time.
Yeah.
I've seen you. You know, definitely doing your thing. Was there a point where you were trying to get into the UFC, being that you're from Vegas?
I'm always trying to stay ready, just for everything, just for life, and just because I love it, and it's a lifestyle that, you know, I've been in now for a very long time. I definitely, you know, before the Marine Corps, you know, honestly, I was boxing with UNLV, I came up moving around a lot, getting into a lot of fights. At one point, it was like, I started out fighting my friends in the backyard. That turned into me like fighting dudes for money in the backyard. And I was good, like when I say good, I was able to knock guys out. I always had the punching power, and I could take a hit. And as I was already in martial arts. And for me, like once I transitioned and started like boxing in a real gym and like, taking it serious, like I just was in love with it. I always was. I was always into martial arts. And so for me, getting to UNLV and like, really wanting to kind of keep going, and I definitely wanted to go pro at that time. Before my first fight, September 11th happened, and I joined the Marine Corps. And from there, gone, dealing with different things, life, job, all kinds of problems, and just didn't make it back, But through the process, I had a couple amateur fights, kickboxing, boxing, some jiu-jitsu tournaments, and I definitely was, all about fighting, and I just love it. Yeah. And right now, I know right now, I have been trying to get a boxing match. I'm not getting any younger, and I'm like, you know what? I still have enough in the gas tank for one or two more. So I've been trying to get a boxing match. This Jake Paul, Nate Diaz fight that's coming up. I've been trying to get on that undercard. So if you guys are out there, and want to get me on, I heard KSI is available.
But I might be able to help with that over at PJ, my boy.
But he's BJ's the man. I talked to BJ, and I know the Diaz team and those guys, and so like I've been plugging as hard as I can. Yeah. But I think I'm going to do one more regardless. I've talked to a couple organizations, and it's something I just really want to do for me to check that box, because there was times where I had pro fights scheduled and didn't end up happening or whatever over the years, So I'm like, while I still have it, I would love to get one more in there. So that's kind of it. And it's not only my motivation for training. Kind of what we were talking about is it's a therapy for me. Yeah. It's something where I can escape, and it's helped me calm my demons over the years. That's for sure. And I'll do it till I can't move. Right now I'm really focused on boxing, and I haven't been doing as much jiu-jitsu or kickboxing, but as soon as I figure out if I'm going to do this boxing match, I'm going to go back and get my kicks moving again. And I miss being on the mats for sure. I'm
definitely going to text PJ, who does the they just sold out Wembley. I'm gonna be like, hey, you got any opening? Because I think they are doing a card coming up.
Get me in.
And I'm gonna hit him up after this for sure.
Wembley sounds rad.
Yeah, they just sold out London. I think they're doing another card coming up. How did you guys been friends in Vegas? Because you're a local. How long have you been out here?
Well, I've been out, in and out for
a long
17 years, but
you guys met through the fight game?
Oh, geez, bro.
Yeah, we've been around for a long time. I own Lights Out Extreme Fight in my MMA league, and we're on Fubo TV.
Okay.
So, I launched Lights Out Extreme Fight in 2019. And, I've been around the sport for a long time. I've been in TV with NFL Network and, all these big networks. And I started doing a lot of production stuff, writing shows, creating shows. So I knew how TV worked, So that was the combination of like coming from where I come. There's nobody bigger when it comes to storytelling, branding than NFL. Right, like they are the NFL films and all, like they just
they go
everything
deep.
Is deep. So I was around that, seeing that side of it, and then going to networks myself as a talent broadcast, but also on the back end, I was the one 12, 13 years ago asking questions like, hey, what is this camera for? What does this one do? How long is break? What's happening during break? Okay, what commercials are on? And so I started to learn how to sell sponsorship and get into that side of it. So when I launched Lights Out Extreme Fighting, it was like right up my alley. Because for one, I love being around the guys. You talk to any former athlete, any former football player especially, when they get done and they retire, they'll all tell you one thing: they miss the locker room.
Same as
that's
military,
all of us. For all of us, like that. That is when you're making that transition, whether you're in the military or what, like not being around your guys anymore is the hardest thing. It ain't even the money, right? It's not the money. It's not the fame. It's not nothing. It's wins and losses, getting back to the locker room and being around, your country ass friend from Wisconsin is funny as hell, right? Yeah. And so you miss that part of the camaraderie part of it. But then, for me, when I retired, I was around all these fighters still. And these guys, even when we're training or sparring or whatever, if they got a problem with each other before we start practice, they are lighting each other. Like their 2 rounds is just all out. Or 1 round or whatever, just get after it. A lot of shit talking like, okay, well, yeah, say something now. Okay, you go, and I'm, sitting there. I love being around this shit. So I'm just sitting around there like, oh, you gonna let him talk to you like that?
You're not gonna let him talk to you like
that. You just said the shit before you came. Oh, you gonna say it again? What you just told him before you came? So that was me always and always there. So it was fitting, man. Like it was fitting. And being able to have the outreach because I played in the NFL, to have a platform that I can promote these other fighters. We got a big fight coming up in San Diego, July 22nd. And it'll be live on Fubo. And like 3.5, 4 hours. We're even showing most of our amateur fights, which is different. Nobody's doing that. So we're showing our amateur fights. I think we got 6 or 7 pro. So 16 fights throughout the day.
Wow.
And I love that, man, because I built a platform myself to give these other guys that's coming up a platform. One or 2 guys every fight is leaving us to the UFC, every one after. We got 2 just fighting. This one that already got UFC contracts. It's taking 1 more in San Diego because it's going to be a big one. And then they're gone to the UFC. So we're cool with being defeated. We got a bunch of tech, fan engagement, innovative stuff. That AI, we're about to get so crazy with this thing here shortly. That we just going to create our own lane and let UFC and do their thing because they're the big dogs and keep growing internally, man. Like that is important for us.
Might be time to sign them up.
Yeah, oh yeah, we got to sign them up, baby. We got to sign them up. Honestly, so I got these videos I shoot on my Instagram with the sign them up and don't sign them up. And
I'll be sending them like 10 a week.
Oh, dude,
sign them up.
But you know what? It's funny because people would always ask me, like, how do you get these videos? Where do you find this shit? Yeah. And I'm like, I got friends. My boys, my people send me this shit. So I
got a guy for you. You probably know him, King David MMA.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan's nephew.
Oh, dude. And so
he's good on the mic, man.
Oh, dude, it's fun for me because. Being in this business, in the fight business, you get a lot of fighters and shit, to reach out to. I go to gyms, everywhere from Vegas all the way down to San Diego, Texas, Florida, Black House, AKA. I've been to all these gyms, right? Training, fight ready down in Arizona. And I see these guys, whatever, so fighters would naturally come up to me. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, when was your last fight? Which promotion, which company? And they'll send me a DM or a clip of their last fight. And some of them are really good. I'm like, oh, this dude can go, right? So I send it to our matchmakers. But some start sending me shit of them getting knocked out or getting their ass whooped.
And a little too humble.
Yeah, and I was like,
bro, why you send me this?
Right, and I'll text him like, yo, you don't have any other clips, and like you don't have anything else. Yeah.
I got heart.
Right, and so what I started to do was create these sign them up or don't sign them up. Because it got funny to me at the end of the day. Like, you got some guys that can really go, and then some guys just completely suck. And so I was like, hold on. Sign them up, don't sign them up. Sign them up, don't sign them up. I was like, that's a skit.
And then all your in your chat, like all the comments will be like, sign them up. And everyone goes,
And so I'll post fight videos of people who can actually fight and get knocked out, and some of them get their ass whooped. And the ones get their ass whooped, I say, don't sign them up. And I'll take my glass off and look at the camera. So it became like a thing. Like some of these videos, they get 5 and 6 million views.
Yeah, the engagement's
awesome.
The engagement
is awesome, and people love it. I was eating at STK about 2 months ago. And I'm sitting there eating, and there was a group of people that walked behind me, screamed, sign them up. It scared the shit out of me, right? I turned around, and I look, and I just burst out in tears laughing, man. They were all laughing. It was the funniest thing ever. So it kind of came one of these things.
It's cool when you find that thing. I started going to the Strip and doing interviews. And like a week or so ago, I did you got to fight one, you got to fuck one, and you got to kill one. And I wasn't telling the people what the question was going to be, but it was Mike Tyson, Conor McGregor, and Dana White. And these guys, when and I got the microphone out there on the Strip, and the faces, and like just the algorithm Conor was picking it up. Yeah, it was hilarious.
Yeah,
it was a good time. But you got to find like Dana White. He does the Fucking Fridays.
Yeah.
Sign him up. I like that. Sign him up.
Sign him up. Don't sign him up.
I've been.
Sean been trying to sign me up for a couple.
Dude,
years
listen.
now.
Okay, so
Yeah, you're gonna.
this is my thing, man. I'm a nonstop. Like, if I see something, I'm like, dude, you should, And for years, I just been on. I'm like, dude, just take one, because he had a fight in San Diego. It's a charity event he did. He looked great, knocked the guy out, and I saw him hitting mitts and stuff, and obviously I saw him. He was sharp, but when you get in the ring, in the cage, it's much different, right? And he looked good in the cage. I said, in the ring, I said, man, dude, you should really look at taking an MMA fight. I mean, J-Roc has a insane network of people and just a great dude. So everybody will come and see him and support him. I said, well, I'll put something together and just rock it out, because I know that people will support. He got a lot of big outreach of just people in general. And so I'm not going to stop until he say, hey, I'm not fighting no more. But while he's still talking about taking the fight, I'm going to take my shot.
Yeah, Eric's in my ear about it too. I felt like the boxing, I was like, let me do this boxing because, as far as staying injury-free, I feel like boxing's a little easier to, nothing's easy, but easier to keep myself from getting injured. Once I start rolling a lot, shoulder, becomes a little, so, and I'm not a spring chicken, so we'll see what happens after that. I would love to grace the lights out canvas.
I would love that, man. We'll put a fight, promote the hell out of it, and
I've been calling out every MMA journalist. I'm like, I'm by no means some high level athlete, but I'm from Jersey.
Yeah,
I'm a vet. I'll get it. I'm like, in all respect to the schmo, but I probably said it on like 15 shows. Let's go. Let's get in there and bang out. You know what I mean? Because we want to sit down with
Ariel too. Dana
Ariel.
Dana will like that.
Oh yeah.
To him.
But we get to sit down with you guys.
Yeah.
And all these high level athletes that got we see 2% of maybe a little bit of the success from afar. But what about all the days you were in tears and your body was broken and you didn't see your family and you had anxiety and like nobody sees that. So I'm like, well, we need to have to earn it a little more. Me personally, coming into like, a new genre and being a host of a fight show, how else could I gain respect? Get in there and fight and be like, hey, look, I'm not saying I'm this guy, but if like you've had to put all the work and time in to get where you're at, I should have to sweat and bleed a little bit to sit down with you and ask you about it. Yeah, so I'm like, let's scrap.
I like the mindset because you just have to understand a little bit of what that feels like. It's like I've listened. You don't want to be talking about swimming professionally if you've never been in the pool, right? And it's one of those things that to your point, like training through injuries, and it's another. One of the reasons why I respect a lot of these guys so much, these fighters in all combat sports, because of what they're going through. The day-to-day grind of putting that work in, because we all want to just relax some days. We want to chill. We got, these guys are training with injuries. They're fighting with injuries. I like these 24/7s because you're able to see sometimes, like these guys are going into these fights with serious injuries and they're going anyway. It's the same thing with football or these other sports. Like these guys aren't 100%. They're very rarely 100%, but they're going in there and they're putting their life on the line. And I just have a huge amount of respect for that. And just always martial arts for me, respect, discipline. Like most of these fighters, you meet them and they're cool, and they're not like walking around being tough guys, beating up guys. And I feel like that becomes this like way in which they're looked at, but it's not how these guys operate. You learn respect at a very early age, and to the point, you're talking shit. Someone okay, and then you're gonna have to back that up and do it to it.
Thank God they're humble and nice, right? A bunch of linemen, like, what'd you say? Just mushing you.
Yeah. There's a few bad apples out there, I'm sure.
Yeah. So you guys we gotta wrap it up. We'll do this again.
Yeah.
I would really like to get together and learn more. And offline, I'll connect with you guys more because I can't learn how to do this hosting stuff and get out there if I don't ask, right?
Yep.
Because you got a fight league, other credentials, all that type of stuff. I want to represent my friends and people that have the same passion as me. So I look forward to it. Thank you guys for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Fight Junkies, we're going to keep growing. You mark my words, you're going to see my pretty face more and more.
I believe it. I believe it. Thanks for having us on, man.
Yeah,
I'll be behind
absolutely.
you all the way, bro.
You guys have anything you want to plug, or
Nope,
you guys
we're
ready to
good.
go? All right. Fight Junkies, like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. We're out.